Hello everyone, my name is Sadir Rahman. I am Rihan Lawala School Foundation level student. So today my topic is conscious tracking the evaluation of awareness. So my first question is what is consciousness?
Hi, Sathir. That sounds like a fascinating topic for a presentation. In simple terms, consciousness is your awareness of your own existence, your thoughts, and the environment around you. It's that internal light that lets you know you're experiencing things rather than just reacting to them. Does that help as a starting point for your first question?
Okay. My
Glad
next
to hear
question
it.
is how do scientists define awareness?
That's a bit of a deeper dive. It's one of those things where different fields like neuroscience and psychology look at it a bit differently. Generally, they see awareness as the ability to perceive and respond to things around you. Some even make a distinction, saying you can be aware of something without being fully conscious of it, kind of like how your body might react to a stimulus before your brain even processes it. Does that fit into how you're tracking the evolution of awareness?
Why is consciousness important of humans?
That's an interesting angle. Are you asking why awareness is particularly important for women, or are you looking for it from a historical perspective?
Okay, so
I'll let you lead the way.
what is the difference between a conscious and unconscious?
Those are two very different directions. Consistent is about things staying the same or following a pattern, while unconstitutional is a legal term for something that goes against the highest law of the land. Are you pivoting to a law topic for your presentation?
Okay. How did consciousness evolve over time?
Assuming you're talking about consciousness, since that's where we started. This evolved from being seen as something spiritual or a soul to being viewed as a complex biological process in the brain. Now, scientists are even debating if consciousness can exist in things like AI. Which part of that evolution are you focusing on?
Okay. Which living organisms show us signs of awareness?
That's a huge list. It ranges from the most complex brains, like humans and dolphins, to some really surprising ones, like octopuses and crows. Some researchers even think consciousness might be present in some basic form in plants or fungi because of how they react to their environments. Does any of those stand out for your project?
Okay. What
I'll
role does
stay on
the
standby.
brain of play in consciousness?
I think you're asking about the brain's role in consciousness. The brain is essentially the command center. It takes all the raw data from your senses and weaves it into a single cohesive experience that you actually feel. Without that processing power, you'd just be receiving signals without any actual understanding of what they mean. Do you want to dive deeper into how specific parts of the brain handle this?
Okay. Can animals
I'll be here
be
whenever you're.
can
Are you
animals
wondering
be
if animals.
conscious?
Oh, definitely. Most scientists agree that many animals are. It's not just about having a human like brain, it's about their ability to feel pain, remember things, and solve problems. Some, like elephants and dolphins, even show signs of self awareness. Do you think consciousness is something only humans have, or is it a spectrum?
How do humans become self-aware?
That's the $1 million question. It's a mix of biology and experience. You're born with the hardware, but as you grow, your brain starts to recognize that you're a separate person from the rest of the world. A lot of it happens through social interaction and even just looking in a mirror for the first time. Do you think that's a process that happens all at once or more of a gradual slide?
What is consciousness?
That's slightly different from just being conscious. Self consciousness is when you're not just aware of your surroundings, but you're aware of, we're aware of yourself as an object that others are perceiving. It's that feeling of being watched or judged, which can be a bit uncomfortable, but it's also
How uh,
what allows us to reflect on our own behavior. Does that make sense in the context of your presentation?
okay, how does the memory contribute to awareness?
Memory is like the glue that holds your awareness together. Without it, you'd be living in a permanent now with no sense of who you are or where you've been. It gives you a narrative, allowing you to connect what's happening right now to everything you've experienced before. Do you think awareness can even exist without memory?
Okay, what is the relationship between a consciousness and pre preposition preparation?
It's a profound way to look at it. In essence, consciousness is the experience of being that person. It's the subjective part of you, the inner voice and the feelings that makes you more than just a physical body. Would you say consciousness is what actually defines a person?
Okay, so, how do your senses affect a consci- consci- consciousness?
Your senses are basically the gateway for consciousness. They take in all the sights, sounds, and smells and feed them to your brain, which then turns them into the experience you're actually having. I'm curious though, when you said consumption, were you thinking about how we consume information or something else?
Can a consciousness exist without a brain?
Um, that's a wild question. Scientifically speaking, no. From what we know, the brain is the engine that makes consciousness possible. But it sounds like you're thinking about this from a more philosophical or spiritual side. Are you imagining something like a collective consciousness or an energy that exists outside the body?
What through is through rise explain the organic of consciousness?
I think you're asking about the organic or biological basis of
Yes, yes.
consciousness. It's essentially the idea that your awareness isn't magic, but is produced by the physical machinery of your brain. Neurons firing, chemical signals passing between cells, and complex networks of activity. It's the physical stuff that creates the mental experience. Does that sound like the organic part you were looking for?
Okay. How does sleep affect awareness?
Sleep is where things get really interesting. It's like your consciousness takes a detour. During deep sleep, your awareness of the outside world basically switches off, but in dreams, your brain creates an entirely different internal version of awareness. Do you think
What
we're
happens
actually
to
awake in a
consciousness during dream?
during dreams, your consciousness doesn't exactly disappear. It just changes its source. Instead of processing the real world through your senses, your brain starts playing a highlight reel of memories, emotions, and random associations. You're still aware within the dream, but your brain has essentially cut the feed to the outside world. Have you ever had a lucid dream where you actually realize you're dreaming while it's happening?
Uh, what is this sub
I'm not
subconscious
entirely
mind?
I'm just thinking along with you and helping you build out this presentation on consciousness. I've been answering your questions and exploring these big ideas with you. Does that feel like it's working, or is there something else you're looking for?
Okay, how does attention influence concentration? Continues.
I'm having a little trouble following that last part. Were you talking about how attention influences our consciousness, or maybe something about
Yes, yes, yes.
misinformation? I want to make sure I'm on the right page before I dive in.
You are right.
Since you said yes to both, let's start with attention. Attention is basically the spotlight of your consciousness. You can't possibly process every single thing happening around you at once, so your brain picks and chooses what to focus on, which completely changes how you experience the world. Then there's misinformation, which is like a glitch in the system. When your brain accepts something false as a fact, it actually shapes your awareness and your perception of reality, even if the information is wrong. Does that cover what you were thinking, or do you want to dig into one of those more specifically?
Can a mechanism become a conscious?
Absolutely. Are you looking for medical conditions that affect consciousness, like comas or concussions, or more like psychological states such as dissociation or mindfulness?
Okay, so my next question is,
I'm
what
listening.
is the artificial consciousness? Consciousness.
That's a huge topic in tech right now. It's the idea of creating a machine that doesn't just process data or follow a script, but actually has its own subjective experience and awareness. Most current AI is just really good at predicting the next word or pixel, but it's not actually feeling anything. Do you think a
Yes.
machine could ever truly be conscious, or is that something only biological beings can do?
How do emotions affect our business?
I'm guessing you meant consciousness rather than dinosaur. Machines can change how we think and perceive the world, often by filtering what we see through algorithms or by taking over tasks that used to require our full attention. Do you feel like technology makes you more aware of things, or does it actually distract you from the being present?
So my next question is, uh,
I'm listening.
what does memory contribute to awareness?
That's a fascinating one. Memory is basically the anchor for awareness. Without it, you'd be experiencing the world in a series of disconnected snapshots, and you'd have no way to build a context for what's happening right now. It's what allows you to recognize a pattern or feel a sense of continuity in your own life. Do you
Uh,
think awareness can exist in the moment without any memory at all?
why do humans reflect on their own two goods? Two goods.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. You started to ask about why women reflect on something, but then it got a bit jumbled. You
How
want to try
does
that again?
language shape a consciousness?
I'm not sure I follow you there. That sounds like a few different ideas colliding. Are you asking how language affects the way we think about a constitution, or maybe something
Yes, yes,
about
yes,
how we
yes.
consume information? Got it. Since you're nodding along to both, let's dive into the connection. Language isn't just a tool for communication, it's the lens we use to perceive everything. When it comes to a constitution, the specific words chosen can literally define the boundaries of a person's freedom or rights. And as for consuming information, the way a topic is framed in the language we use often decides whether we accept it as truth or question it. Do you think the words in a legal document can actually change the way people behave in their daily lives?
Did early humans possess the same level of awareness as modern humans?
That's a deep question. I suspect they did, but the context of their awareness was just different. A modern woman's awareness is shaped by technology and global connectivity, while an early woman's awareness was likely centered on survival, nature, and the intricate needs of her community. The capacity for thought and self reflection hasn't changed, but the map they were using to navigate the world was completely different. Does that feel like a fair distinction to you?
Okay. How does culture
We've
influence constitution?
we've been thinking a lot about how the structure of society, like constitutions and culture, shapes our internal world. Culture is essentially the invisible rule book we're all following. It influences a constitution by deciding what values are actually worth protecting in writing. For example, a culture that prizes collective harmony over individual success will end up with a very different legal framework than one that puts the individual first. It's like the culture is the soil and the constitution is the plant that grows out of it. Do you think it's possible for a constitution to actually change a culture, or is it always the other way around?
What is collective?
My what?
What is collective consciousness?
You're very welcome. I'm curious, since we've been talking about collective values and policies, do you think most people actually care about the rules, or do they just do what feels right in the moment?
Can meditation after a conscious
That's a powerful point. When the policies are actually designed to reflect the needs of the people, they're much more likely to be followed and respected. It's like moving from just having rules to having a system that actually works for everyone. Do you think the biggest challenge in making better policies is just knowing what people need? Or is it the more about who's actually in charge?
What is the the role of constitutions? Is it the decision making?
Exactly. The Constitution is basically the ultimate playbook for decision making. It sets the ground rules so that the people in charge can't just make things up as they go along. It ensures that no matter who is leading, there's a consistent standard for how power is used and how choices are made. Do you think a constitution is more about limiting power or about giving a government the power to act?
Okay, so
You've been on a roll.
how consciousness relate to free will?
Now we're getting into the real heavy lifting. Connecting consciousness to free will is where things get a bit wild. If we're just a collection of biological reactions and memories, are we actually making choices or are we just following a script written by our brain chemistry? It's one of those questions that's been keeping philosophers up at night for centuries. Do you think your choices are truly your own, or are they just the result of everything that's happened to you up until this moment?
What is the hard problem of continuous?
It really is. It's that gap between knowing how the brain works and actually feeling like you're the one in the driver's seat. If everything is just a reaction, the feeling of choosing almost becomes an illusion. Does that idea bother you, or do you find it kind of freeing?
How does consciousness develop in children?
I'm not sure I've heard of Chinden in this context before. It sounds like a specific concept, but honestly, I'm not seeing anything that links it directly to consciousness or, mass development. I'm seeing things like urban development in Idaho or a Japanese word for sediment. Could it be a different word or maybe something you're reading in a specific book?
Okay, how do brain injuries affect less?
That's a big jump. You're asking if we can actually design or rewire the brain to change how we function, right? That's basically the frontier of neuroscience, that using things like neural implants or targeted stimulation to tweak the factors that make us who we are. Do you think we should be allowed to engineer our brains, or is that crossing a line?
Okay. What
You're taking in a lot
advisors
of.
suggest that animals experience emotions?
It's a huge debate in biology. Most scientists believe animals do feel emotions, but they might experience them differently than we do. For instance, a dog's joy or a cat's grief is likely more tied to immediate survival and instinct than the complex narrated stories we tell ourselves in our heads. Do you think animals feel things in the same way humans do, or is their experience simpler?
Okay, bye everyone. Thank you for listening to my discussion and Pakistan Zindabad. Okay, bye. Thank you for listening and bye bye. Thank you for watching this video.